You don't fool a man who was born and raised in the worst slum barrio of Rio de Janeiro. We're gonna find out real quick who's the real Capoeira maestre in this neighborhood.
Welcome to Second Class Cinema, the show where we watch a B movie and immediately discuss it. I'm Tom. I'm here with Brittany, Eric, and Tyler.
What's up?
Hello, Tyler.
Hey.
Hey,
Thanks
Tyler.
for having me, guys.
Welcome, Tyler.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We watched the movie Only the Strong tonight with Mark Dacascos, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 1993. But before we start to get into that movie, let's ask Tyler the question we ask all of our guests, which is, what's your relationship with B movies?
Well, I've been in a bunch of shitty movies before. And I also live vicariously through you guys. So
Hey!
I listen to all the podcasts and have a good time listening, so figure I'd jump on board and watch them.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I know you don't watch a lot of B movies, and I hope tonight's movie wasn't a slog for you.
Too painful.
Too painful.
No,
Tried to take it easy.
it was awesome.
You seem like you're having a pretty good time.
So, yeah, we watched Only the Strong, 1993, and I picked this movie. It was my pick, and I
Why'd you pick it?
Here's why. Because 8-year-old Tommy, maybe 9, he enjoyed watching this movie a lot. He grew up watching this movie a lot, bought it as soon as he could
lot.
on DVD, and has the song on his computer, and has loved this movie for reasons I have no idea why, but I always have.
No,
I know you always.
Oh, I'm sorry. You go first.
You always talk this movie up so much.
I do. I've got a real soft spot for this movie.
What I find funny though is you never talked up this movie when we were growing up as kids. I never heard of this, and I'm surprised you never brought it up. Like,
Well, I didn't understand why. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand that I had this deep love for this movie. It was just always on and
He
around.
didn't want to scare you away. He was like, I'm going to wait till our late 20s, and then I'll tell them when I know that they're just in it for life.
I've only known about this movie for 2 days, and you didn't talk it up at all. So
That's good. I
Yeah.
didn't want to set expectations too high, but I also didn't want to just give it no sell at all.
Tell us what this movie is about.
All right, so this movie basically is about ex-Green Beret, Louis Stevens, played by Mark Dacascos. He comes back to his hometown in Miami and visits his old high school. And what he does is he hooks up with one of his old teachers, and they start a program to teach capoeira to the kids, to the children of the school, high school, so they're not children.
minors.
And,
Yeah.
and what is capoeira? For
Capoeira
anyone who might not know.
Is a Brazilian martial arts. If you've played Tekken 3, you've played as Eddie
Yep.
Gordo, I'm assuming,
Or someone has played Eddie Gordo against you and you've gotten furious.
and you've been upset. That should define capoeira. And then, he goes to teach these underprivileged kids this martial art in hopes to turn them around and make them better people. Also, while fighting the drug lord of the town, where everyone knows what capoeira is, and everyone knows it.
it's so muddy, this plot.
Yeah. So
Well, just
it
to be
made
clear,
sense for the-
he doesn't need to improve their lives because they're underprivileged. They just go to a really bad urban school and they're like terrible criminal kids.
Well, yeah. Their privilege is not there.
No, I agree they're underprivileged, but that you made it seem like that's why he's like saving their souls.
Oh, no.
Listen, you guys are poor. I'm gonna need to help you out with this.
Gonna teach you how to dance fight.
Yeah, not only were they poor, they were terrible people. And terrible students.
The 12 worst, bottom of the barrel. I don't know how many times they hammered that into our heads.
Oh, yeah.
We scraped the bottom of the barrel for these kids.
Every bottom of the burr.
All right. So that's basically the plot summation. He starts to fight the drug lord of the town, and that's where the movie gets a little weird, but we'll revisit that later. If we'd like to start, we can start with the successes of the movie, what the movie did correctly. So let's go down that path. Tyler, looks like you have something to say.
So much to say about this movie. I can't even read my own handwriting. I have so many notes. Oh,
Scribble
okay.
fast.
So immediately they show you how terrible the school is that these kids are in, right?
Yeah.
and we are well established that they don't even like the first image of a student for me was when the kid put the $20 bill on his mouth.
Oh yeah,
and then he stuck it to his forehead.
And then stuck it to his forehead, and I was like, don't these kids know about germs? How many people's hands that $20 bill has probably touched over the course of that life? Like,
I'm not sure he was thinking about that when he did.
no,
that.
but it was like so bizarre. Who licks money and puts it on their forehead?
I wrote that down as one of my favorite parts. Actually,
It was a pretty good part.
It was so outlandish. He was trying to buy drugs, so he just licks the 20 and sticks it to his
Listen,
forehead.
I mean business.
It's true. He was trying to buy drugs off of Mark Dacakis
I've
in the bathroom.
personally never purchased drugs in that manner, but maybe they do things differently in Miami.
Well, we've seen the Miami Connection, so we know exactly how they do things in Miami.
I do feel like it did have some strength in knowing what it was half the time and then also knowing what it was the other half of the time. but just combine those two pieces. It was very bizarre in that way. Like it was all coherent in a strange kind of way as far as like being a two-parter.
Yeah,
You know?
because
Like,
there were two moves for sure.
Oh, definitely.
and it didn't fuck any of it up. It just kind of like I mean it didn't work on every level.
What?
but it did. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like
it escalates in a very jarring way, but both parts of the movie like merge together. Like the first half of the movie is like kind of like almost like a Karate Kid. It's kind of a little bit juvenile, and then like the second half goes into like all out gang war territory. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, but then you're sitting there like, how did we get here?
It happens over the course of 30
I
seconds.
don't understand.
Yeah, it ramps up pretty quickly.
I loved how 90s this movie was.
Yes.
It was so deliciously 90s. From the music to the garb to the hairstyles to
All the slams.
The slams,
The
the
slams.
insults were great.
Now,
I mean, they were so corny and terrible, but they made it so perfect.
So, like, this is, like, really cool 90s as far as I'm concerned. Now, we've made a distinction before. I don't know if we made it on the air, where there's, like, Top Gun 80s and then there's aerobics 80s.
Yes.
One of those is really cool and one of those isn't. So I'm trying to think, like, how would you describe, like, cool 90s and bad 90s? And I don't know how we would describe
I
it.
feel like it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I feel like this movie was a perfect blend of like every early 90s team sports movie, right?
Okay.
Like so it was Little Giants, it was Mighty Ducks combined with martial arts because like there were a bunch of characters that you did feel with, but then there were characters that you saw but you do nothing you do nothing about.
It was kind of like Dangerous Minds
Right.
meets Mighty Ducks, but with karate.
Like I can't help but think of like Little Giants where there were so many characters that played football, but we didn't know them at all.
Yeah.
like that one in this movie in Only the Strong, the one white dude that is the blonde hair that does that karate chop at the end. Like, we don't even know who he is. We have no idea. Who
He
he
actually
is.
has more chops in this movie than lines of dialogue.
Yes, I don't think he ever
He
says a
didn't-
word.
Yeah, he didn't say
He's
anything.
just like the schlubby white guy.
Doughy kid with his mouth agape.
Yeah, and you could barely see his eyes. He had like really tiny eyes, and he just always looked like a fucking goofball.
Like stoned out.
Yeah.
Beavis or something.
Like a stoned out Beavis. Any other successes?
Jeffrey Lewis is a success in everything.
Yeah, he's awesome.
No, he was great in this. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job.
I feel
Unfortunately,
like
he passed just recently, right?
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't help but think of the Devil's Rejects. Like anytime I see him in anything, even if it was pre-Devil's Rejects, like I just think of that role.
And the other thing is, like, maybe he improv'd a lot of his lines, but it felt like his character was more well written than everybody else's character. It just felt like that.
Like more genuine.
yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder if he was...
Like his dialogue was just way better than everybody else's too.
Maybe it was his delivery, too. I mean, because he's one of the only recognizable faces in this movie to me.
Yeah.
Like, to this day, besides, Mark Dacakis, obviously.
Yeah.
But who they didn't hire on his acting skill.
I think the pacing of this movie was a success. Even though initially I was kind of annoyed because a half hour in and I feel like nothing crazy had happened. But maybe it was because I had already seen it, so there were certain things that I was waiting for.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But in retrospect, I actually appreciate that more because they spent the first half hour really like laying the groundwork for the story that was going to unfold.
Yeah. And they didn't act. I mean, they just laid the groundwork and then went right to the top floor. There was no actual middle.
But I knew what was going on for a majority of the time, which
it-
we cannot always say with everything we watch.
Yeah, you can infer a lot about what has happened when you weren't watching. You know, you can just assume what's going on. I get it. You know, They didn't describe it very well, but you understand.
Except for where the love interest is was concerned.
Mark Dacakis literally says, "What are you doing here?"
Oh, man. So basically, Mark Dacakis gets out of the Green Berets, and first day back, he goes to his high school, and everyone's like pumped to see him, except for his high school sweetheart, I'm assuming.
I think they went on one date.
One date?
I think they went on one date.
Established. And she's just like cold shouldering him the whole time. But then
No, not even the whole time. Like 2 minutes.
That one time.
No, that's what I'm saying. The first time we meet her at the school, she's like, fuck off. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm going to get in the car with this other teacher and you can go fuck yourself. But then randomly she like shows up at his class and then like shows up somewhere else and is like playing a tambourine. Like, where did you come from? You wanted nothing to do with him at first and then you were in every scene thereafter. It made no logical sense.
So frustrating.
Yeah, but that's a failure. We're on successes, guys.
I
I have one more success.
Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I will throw it out here. I'm going to say one of my favorite successes of this movie.
The song.
It's the song.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I would say that
It's still in my head.
it's so good. It'll be in here for weeks.
Yeah.
They wrote some original music for this movie. It's a good song. Donovan's remix of the Brazilian music that Lewis brought to him was so good, and they played it. They made sure we heard it a lot.
What are you basing its value on? Its ability to get lodged in your brain and never come out?
No, its ability to dance fight to.
To inspire your capoeira?
To inspire, me to do capoeira.
Donovan, R.I.P.
Yeah, Donovan, which was one of my favorite
Spoiler
parts.
alert.
But yeah, but Donovan's a good kid. But let's move on. Any more successes?
The martial arts is pretty sweet.
Oh, 100% agree.
It's, Capoeira is a very unique style of fighting to watch. It's very dynamic on the screen. There's a lot of flips, a lot of handstands, a lot of awesome kicks. I know Brittany has a bias against kicks for some reason.
Not always.
But the fight scenes were really cool, especially the one in the car stripping lot. A lot of broken glass, a lot of cool improvised weapons. We saw a circular saw used as a chainsaw. Not very effective. It still had the guard on it. We saw Frank Dux as a guy with a blowtorch. That was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more maybe success.
All right.
I don't know if it was a success or if it was just something totally different, but for a martial arts movie, it had a lot of close-ups and it like was completely different. It felt like it had a lot of close-ups during fight sequences, but to me it was actually pretty effective because I didn't need to see the moves. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty interesting because you don't find that in a lot of martial arts movies. They're always cutting back to the wide shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a trying to cover it up move when they do close-ups, but I didn't feel that.
I didn't feel it at all. Yeah,
Kind of like I think we had the same comment about Miami Connection.
Yeah,
I think that's something you had mentioned about it.
You're right.
A lot of close-ups, but it works in a very dynamic way. Not necessarily because obviously the guys in that movie kind of knew something about Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as these guys knew about Capoeira, but it works in the same way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good call. Is that it for successes? I mean, this movie to me is a lot of favorite parts. But
One of those.
We could talk about failures.
I have a lot of questions and
Please
I have a lot
ask
of
them.
favorite parts.
You're talking to the number one, only the strong expert, Tom Ribeiro.
Yeah.
Well, they're not so much questions as general reflections on the movie. Like, why is the first thing he does when he gets home is go back to his high school?
yeah.
And my answer to that was he probably went into the military right after high school, and that's the last thing he knows from back home.
Okay, I'll allow it.
About it.
Secondly,
I'll rationalize the shit out of this movie.
when they're in the fire station that they redo to make their little capoeira school or whatever, when they first go there, Orlando is like trying to stab him pretty much, and nobody cares. Like nobody bats an eye that this high school student is blatantly trying to stab his teacher,
Including
Everyone's
another
just
teacher.
like, whoa.
Yeah.
I thought that was appalling to me. I was like, why does nobody care?
Yeah, I mean,
that he's trying to murder this guy.
They were bad kids.
they were all bad. They were all cheering him on. But you also
But even
saw
Jeffrey
this.
Lewis was like,
Yeah, he was barely doing anything.
nobody, not a fucking.
Well, you also saw this guy just kick the shit out of a drug dealer in the high school, and no one did anything. No one did anything about any violence in this movie except for partake in it.
Well, yeah, but that's
Or
a different
gawk.
story. Like everyone was like,
right,
"Oh,
sure.
sweet, yes, beat up the drug dealers." But like when
Yeah.
it's a student pulling a knife on a teacher, but no one bats an eye, that's just weird to me.
Think about this for a second, right? Like this. This school hired this teacher to teach kids how to beat the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
Like they're like
And that was like the principal's argument.
He
I'm
was.
not
That
kidding.
was the principal's
He's like, we're going to teach
motivation
violent
was,
kids.
let's teach these already violent kids how to be more violent in a more efficient way.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you could teach them basket weaving instead. That's an option.
Yeah, but you don't learn discipline like you learn with capoeira
But-
and basket weaving, man.
But the worst thing about this is they invest all of this time into this class and invest all of this potential money into this class, right?
Yeah, they bought a fire station.
Yeah. But this school is still filled with graffiti.
It's a shithole.
It's the bus has graffiti at the end of the movie still.
Oh, yeah.
Like so if you're going to invest in your students, you should also invest in the school itself.
Yeah, I mean, they could have taken all that time cleaning up the fire station to clean up the actual fucking school they went to.
Right.
That's a good point. They put a lot of effort into that fire station.
For the 12 worst kids, too.
They dusted off the fire truck they weren't going to use.
For something they weren't even sure was going to work.
Yeah, they did.
They
Yeah.
had no
That
guarantees.
was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it was just the two dudes kicking out homeless people, spraying the hose all over the place.
For all we know, those two homeless guys were still there.
Yeah.
The entire movie.
They did linger on them a little too long.
Just like when the Silverio's guys go and trash the school and nobody cares.
Well, I mean,
don't understand.
is it a, I mean, you can call it an overall failure of the movie, but is it incorrect that no one's cared the whole time? At least it's consistent.
That's true.
That's a fair point,
I
Tom.
guess.
No one's cared about the school for a second the whole time.
But they care about the people inside the school.
They do.
And then nobody cares about checking if Donovan's really dead.
Yeah, and like there are police officers that work in the school. Like we see them,
Their uniform
But-
says school police.
but these
That's just a shirt they bought.
but this fucking goon squad can just come in and run rampant and smash every mirror in the place and like bash in lockers and like light shit on fire and no one even realizes that it's happening.
But if there's any dancing going on anywhere in America, there are white policemen there to show up and stop it immediately.
Literally every time they start dance fighting, the cops roll up and put the kibosh on that real quick.
Sometimes with a helicopter.
But yeah, no, my argument for that would be just no one's cared.
Maybe even just a shot of like one of the gang members like intimidating someone to go back in a classroom or something.
Yeah.
I would have been like, okay.
Oh,
that
they
makes
could
sense.
have handled that in about 5 seconds.
Well, here's the thing, right? So, like, nobody was in the hallway. There's one dude in the stairwell.
Yeah.
But then they cut to Mr. Kerrigan's class, and nobody's in that class. So,
it's true.
like, where is everybody?
I mean,
Cafeteria.
I mean, it looked like they had lunch. But you think during lunch there would be kids walking through the hall?
at
You know-
least
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
I see. I thought about lunchtime as an excuse. Not a good enough excuse
Yeah.
for a barren wasteland of a school. But that's
It
neither
could,
here nor
it
there.
could have even been end of the day. But why are all those cars still parked?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They messed that up logically.
I was really underwhelmed by the dialogue in this movie.
Underwhelmed by the dialogue.
Yeah.
pretty childish.
I mean, some of the slams were great.
Actually, to jump on that, I felt like for a lead character, you got to have better one-liners than that, man. Like I wrote a couple of them
He
down.
had one-liners.
Yeah, he did.
He did. Get out of here.
Well, you know what? That can go hand in hand with my about to say that Mark Dukakis is a terrible actor. And that
I thought he was fine. I just
Oh, no.
No, he-
Continue. I will go on my tirade after you're done.
All right.
I had a couple lines that I wrote down, right? So Silverio, whatever, felt like a genuinely good bad guy.
Oh, he was
Oh,
awesome.
I
right?
bought him.
So they're about to fight for the second time, I think, or yeah, right before the cops like stop them from fighting.
Yes, right outside the school.
Yeah, and he goes, "I play for keeps," right? Which is a pretty good bad guy line, right? And then Dukakis' character says, this time I don't play. Like, what? What?
That's why I asked if the first time they fought, did he like take it easy on him?
Yeah.
Because he was like,
such a bizarre line.
I don't play. So I was like, oh, so you just let yourself get beaten to shit?
I feel like you need to be Stallone to deliver a line like that.
Yeah.
I don't play.
What were some of his other one-liners?
Oh my god, there are so many.
I didn't remember
bad
that
ones.
one until you said it.
I need to get out of here before I puke all over your fancy shoes.
Yeah, I wrote that one down too. But that one I thought was good. I loved that. That was a strong one-liner. Whereas I felt like everything else was kind of weak.
I don't know. That's like kind of long and bumbling. It's not even a one-liner.
It's like a 12-liner.
I feel like Tim Thomerson could have tightened that one up a little bit. Yeah, I actually can't remember any of his dialogue. It's very not memorable.
No.
Yeah, overall, I mean, nothing really sticks. More character actions stick than words in this movie.
Yeah.
Like Sweet Capoeira.
Yeah, like all the capoeira moves.
I think Mark Dukakis is a terrible actor. He is so, like, beyond being a bad actor, I feel like he was so soft-spoken to the point where even when he was outraged and, like, yelling things at people, he was, like, whispering. He was, like, whisper yelling at everybody.
See, he just...
But I think that was the character. He seemed calm to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll buy that. But I don't know.
I don't know. Mark, he just comes across as, like, a nice guy. And I don't know. That's how he always comes across, even when he's intimidating. He's just like, you're a nice dude.
But
like,
I never bought him as intimidating.
Well, that's when he's trying to be intimidating. It's more like, I know you're a nice guy.
It's kind of like the Jim Conda conundrum.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a badass, but you look like that.
But you wore that red sweater that time.
That's why he's not known as action superstar Mark Dukakis, though.
That is also true.
Which is unfortunate because he's got the Jean-Claude Van Damme style moves. You know?
Oh, yeah.
He's got the moves. He just does
form.
not have the charisma. I think he's lacking in that area.
Yeah, I mean, he had perfect form on everything. I mean, you look at his backflip. How many backflips did we have, by the way?
Yeah,
We're
what's the
keeping
flip
count.
Roughly
North
5,
of
10, 15, 17.
North of 17.
And those are not just backflips. Those are flips in general. Front flips, back flips.
Oh, all right.
I
so-
didn't count any like
What about
twisty
side
things.
flips?
Yeah,
No.
you didn't count side flips.
If it was
Yeah,
like
you
a
don't count the Tootsie Rolls?
No. If it was like a twist.
No,
But a cartwheel, no hand flip though.
Yes, I counted those.
All right.
Okay, so I know you missed one of those at least. So let's just call it north of 20.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I actually expected more considering the nature of the fighting in this movie.
I mean, 20. I mean, if we're being, pretty stringent on what constitutes a flip, 20 is still almost a good amount, considering there's a lot of twists and twirls and other things.
That's very true. I think my biggest gripe with this movie is when he's in the car stripping garage and he throws that gas can in the car that's on fire. The explosion was so weak.
It was weak.
It was so weak. There was no fire. There was no light. There were no flames.
It was like water.
It was like a dust explosion.
That was the weird thing because he threw like a can of gasoline on it and you would expect a big fiery explosion. That's the one time you should expect that. Instead, we got a realistic explosion, the one place you're not supposed to have one.
It was like
Weak.
weak sauce. I was very disappointed by that.
Any other failures?
Oh, I got so many failures.
All right, we have more failures.
Tyler's got a lot to say about this movie.
Hey, I don't get me wrong. This movie was fun, but all right. So we get to the first fight between Silverio and Luis, right? And Luis loses, right? And then we get to the last fight between the two of them, and Luis wins. But he never fought anybody in between the two of them to get any better.
Except goons on occasion.
He still should have got his ass beat.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if he practiced on all those goons, he definitely, leveled up somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I played Double Dragon before.
Well, that just lends to my theory that he barely tried to begin with.
I mean, barely tried? Probably not, because that's a dangerous situation not to try in.
Well,
He probably thought he was dealing with a jobber.
Yeah,
he was
maybe
just
he
going to
wasn't.
take him down. It didn't turn out he was also a secret capoeira guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, too, because I also wrote this down. I was like, so Silverio's telling him to train his guys how to fight, right? He's better. So why are you telling this guy that you're just about to kick his ass to train your guys when you're a better fighter than he is?
Well, I believe I'll quote Silverio from this scene where he says, "You're not." After he beats him in the fight, that first fight, he goes, "You're not good enough to teach my boys, but you are good enough to teach my cousin." And then he goes to his cousin
True.
and he talks about,
He's like, "You can teach my primo."
yeah, you teach my primo the real rules of capoeira.
And then he's like, "When you're done with the playground, you come to me."
Exactly. That guy was awesome.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
Primo Silverio was great,
Antonio Segal.
if one will.
And then this is just my last failure.
Okay.
But it felt like everybody was grasping at straws to be mad at Luis. Like nobody had substantial reason to be mad at him.
The principal.
Was mad at him for doing his job. Like, he didn't set the school on fire. It was the other guy. It was the primo. Like,
The primo. It was. After Primo's goons light the school on fire, the principal's like, "You're fucking out of here!"
get out of my school. Get out of my office or whatever.
And that was the worst bit of acting I've ever seen.
Oh,
Dude,
man.
I think that,
everybody, but I don't understand why.
He was hungover that day.
he slammed like 10 Sudafed before he did that scene.
I don't have any failures,
Oh my god, you son of a bitch.
but I'm totally biased. But I also picked it, so I don't have to have failures.
Do you have an
You
only
can
the strong
not find
shirt?
one thing wrong with this movie.
No, I mean, you talked about some of the inconsistencies the movie had, and I can agree with those. Like, okay, this escalation of relationship between these two, that came out of nowhere. All right, the fact that this movie ramped up from 0 to 100 like in maybe 5 minutes, I'll buy that. But I don't think those are true failures to me. I think they're just things that I've just moved past because I enjoyed the other parts so much.
You've transcended only the strong enjoyment.
It's true.
I really wanted to try to trace the escalation of this war, quote unquote. It was
I got it down. I got this whole movie down. Ask questions.
It was the first fight on the basketball court,
That's when he met Silverio
which
the first
he
time.
loses.
He lost it.
And then there was the almost fight at the school.
Yeah, but okay, go.
And I think Silverio called it a war at that point.
Well,
I think
which I
so,
didn't
too.
understand.
Well, why? Because he was trying to he's trying to break his family apart. He was trying to take away his cousin. He was
But the guy-
influencing him, and he could see all the influence
He
Lewis was
treated
having.
his cousin like shit, though. Like he wasn't coming in and taking over his drug reign. Like, he wasn't like taking over his land. He wasn't taking over his areas that
His
are
turf.
his. His
Yeah,
turf.
he was.
No, he wasn't, because he was just a teacher. He wasn't trying to take anything away from him.
like he was still free to conduct business as usual.
I think he might have been concerned that he was taking away prospective. What's the word I'm looking for? Gang members.
Yeah. Prospects, man.
Prospects. Yeah, by
prospects to join the high school
capoeira gang.
class.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So back to this timeline. So there's no second fight, right?
No, it
No.
stops because the cop hates
The second
dancing.
fight is the last fight.
So they just punk each other off,
Yep.
and then he leaves.
Correct.
And then his cousin is like, "You can't tell me what to do anymore." And then Primo is like, "All right, I'm going to call 50 dudes, and they're going to get chains and baseball bats and machetes and pipes and hunt down this guy.
For
And
one guy.
for one guy that we're going to light a bonfire in front of, and then we're going to capoeira to the death."
In fairness, he did burn the shit out of a lot of money.
Yeah.
Why did
So-
he need 50 dudes?
Well,
to
because
find
he
him?
overreacted, man. He did exactly what a bad guy's not supposed
Like,
to do.
that was 0 to 100 in no time flat. It was like
Yeah.
a week.
So from Silverio's perspective,
And nothing happened.
Silverio's perspective, we went back to Lewis, who was influencing these young people in this neighborhood for the good. And Silverio saw that as an absolute threat to him and his business, because not only was his cousin involved with the capoeira fighting class, but the Jamaican's brother was also involved. So he was flipping these kids over, and he didn't like that very much. And then they intimidate each other a lot. Yeah, that's great. And then the Silverio's cousin, Orlando. What?
This is the most confident I've ever heard you talk about any subject.
But
You
hold
have
up.
way too much conviction about only the strong.
You remember that emotional scene where Lewis is bending down next to Orlando on the beach, and Orlando says, if it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody else anyway.
Yeah.
I don't buy what you're selling, Tom.
Because so you listen to Orlando and you don't listen to Lewis when he says when he says then we need to change it, man. We need to change it. Just telling you, this movie makes perfect sense.
We need to break up.
Not happening. Any other questions? Any other brain busters, guys?
Tom's
Hold up. Before we continue this, you're a New England Patriots fan, so you believe in next man up, right? Maybe Silverio's gang believes in next man up, and it doesn't matter how many guys that are taken from his gang, he's going to develop the next kid, and he's going to turn him into the next best car stripper on the block.
Yeah, I'm sure he would, but he didn't he didn't have a chance to because we saw what happened when the good guys sing their song.
When they sing their song. Oh, God. Can we just fucking dive directly into favorite parts?
All right, no risk. We'll go to favorite parts. All right.
There are no risks with this movie.
No, I didn't take anything.
Besides the entire premise, there are no risks.
Yeah, the premise is weird. It's like the kind of thing that happens when you have like this niche premise, but you apply it to literally everything about a setting. Everyone knows capoeira. Okay, all right, whatever.
At least in this movie, they made... I feel like it was such a thing in the 90s to take, like, underprivileged urban youth and make, like, some fucking white douche swoop in and save them. Like, I liked that at least Mark Dukakis was, like, Brazilian or whatever.
I told Tom, though, this
Polynesian.
is totally Sister Act, though, and Whoopi Goldberg was black.
Yeah.
And still is black.
I've never seen Sister Act.
Oh, all right. It's very much... This movie is Sister Act with martial arts.
Well, isn't that movie also, what, Freedom Writers?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dangerous Minds. And I want to know if this came out before or after Dangerous Minds.
This movie was 1993. So this movie, I'm pretty sure, was flying on the coattails of Street Fighter.
Oh, Dangerous Minds was 1995.
Oh, so Dangerous Minds ripped Only the Strong off?
I'm sure that's exactly what happened.
That's what I think happened. So favorite parts. Let's go in. Let's talk about some key moments of the movie that we're really going to take home.
I loved that when they were fighting their final battle, Primo, I'm just going to call him Primo, even though I know his name is Silverio. When Primo and Lewis were fighting, and Lewis was like started to get his ass kicked, but then all the kids started singing the song.
The good guy song.
And I was like, oh, thank God they're singing that, because now he's definitely going to win.
Well, yeah, how do you think the tables got turned? When the bad guys got their song drowned out by the good guys, then the good guys started to win. It's so clear.
It's so logical for good overcoming evil.
Well, you notice how he didn't have anyone to sing the good guy song on the first fight, which is probably why he got his ass kicked, because they were only singing the bad guy song. So, that's fact. More favorite parts, everyone.
I have another favorite part. The Jamaican guy's facial hair was my favorite thing in this entire movie. He had a mustache and a goatee connected to a chin strap, connected to sideburns, connected to the rest of his fucking hair. It was amazing, and it never ended. Oh my gosh.
It was a constellation of facial hair.
But like you said, his eyebrows needed to be connected.
Yeah, that was the only thing that was missing was the eyebrows connected to the...
Like, why are you fighting it? Just let it...
I mean, he had dreads, too, so he could have very easily just, like, figured a way out to connect that.
Dread his eyebrows?
Yeah.
That would have been so weird.
Wait, eyebrow dreads?
Circle on his face. If his eyebrows were dreaded back into it.
You wouldn't have seen where he was going anywhere.
No.
Oh, see, I thought he was going to dread it back and connect it to his hair.
Oh, that would have...
So it would be like hanging in his eye.
That would have been fine.
Not like hanging in front of his eyes.
I can just imagine him hanging.
With like beads.
Listen, when I think about this movie, I think about practicality, okay? Those dreads...
That's true. They didn't use a lot of special effects. Even that shit-ass gasoline dump was...
Yeah, that was weak. But on top of one of my favorite parts being the good guy music versus the bad guy music as a whole here, that chop shop fight scene from beginning to end was just awesome.
Oh, incredible. That was my favorite part, easily.
Yeah, they had some really good stunt work. They did some really cool stuff with chains. Like, they used a lot of chains. It was a really cool shop to do it in. And then they had, like, staves of bad guys. You know, you had, like, the shitty guy who had, like, the lead pipe. And then you got, like, circular saw guy working your way all the way up to
The
blowtorch
boss.
guy, who's the boss, who was really hard to beat. You couldn't kick him. You couldn't punch him, you know?
The boss of the
He earned his
warehouse
hand
level.
on him, of course.
Yeah.
This stereotypical hurt your hand on the guy's face.
I have more.
Silverio's bejeweled vest.
Holy shit.
That was awesome.
It was awesome. It was glittering in the firelight. It was beautiful.
Yeah, some of the shots they had towards the end of this movie to just, I don't know,
so
were
funny.
so good. So good.
That's the word you're gonna go with. All right.
So good.
I have a couple lines that were pretty much my favorite part. Of course, the "I puke all over your shoes" line that we talked about earlier.
That's a good part.
And then the bizarre line Orlando says, "Drop your pants."
Oh, yeah. What is that? What leads
It
up
came
to
out
that?
of left field, like drop the knife or something like that.
Oh no, because the kids had walked into class outside, and he was like, "Drop your backpacks, drop your blah blah blah," to like get ready for class.
Yeah.
And drop your pants. And then of course, to kick the movie off with a slam was the natural selection line.
Oh, all right. We gotta.
That's when I knew I was in for a ride.
Yeah.
Your quintessential '90s urban classroom.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's literally 5 seconds before the bell rings and he walks out of the class. Like
Well, let's tee the lineup. So what happens here? Kerrigan's trying to teach in front of the classroom.
Charles Darwin, natural
Quintessential
selection.
90s classroom where people are listening to their stereos and not paying attention and just being little assholes.
He's
Literally 40 kids all doing separate things.
And he's talking about how only the strong survive, right?
Yeah, natural selection.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice touch they put in there.
Yeah. And then he says, I'm going to naturally select walking out of your class or whatever.
Yeah, like your dumbass class.
I'm
or
gonna
something
naturally
like that.
select to walk out of your dumbass class. And then the bell rings.
And then he like attempts to stroll out like a badass, but gets cut off 3 seconds later by the bell. It's a great timing, dipshit.
It was the only line that guy had in the whole movie.
And we
it
never
was,
saw him again.
It was like the first English line in the movie, well, second, because Kerrigan did speak English.
That's true. He was. And
Oh,
it's-
except for that one guy in the Jeep that should have been Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
And it's funny that kid in that classroom had more lines than some of the kids who we were supposed to care about by the end of the movie.
The writing.
I have another favorite part, which is, I mean, it's both a tragedy and my favorite part, which is when our character of Donovan dies in the fire that Silverio lights in the school. And it is only my favorite part because that part is treated, like you said, practicality is what I think of when this movie comes to
Okay,
mind.
go on, because I might laugh at you.
Well, there's no practicality. So Donovan
none.
dies. He's in this fire. The firemen get him out of this fire that they set in the school.
No, but you got to start before that, Tom.
We do?
Yeah.
Because Donovan died in vain.
No, he goes
die
in
in vain.
after the wooden
Thing.
stick
The
thing
stick.
that was already broken.
Yeah,
It was already broken over Kerrigan's back.
it's true.
Move
Oh, yeah, I
on.
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
move
Yeah.
on, Donovan.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And well, it meant a lot to him because that was his thing. Donovan's thing was music, right? And that's what made him draw into this in the first place. And then that was a symbol to him for what everything he worked for was, and he wanted to give that back to Lewis.
See, but he was the only guy out of all those guys that I had hope from beginning to end about, right? Like, he could have moved on and done something else with his life. But he went in for a wooden stick with a string attached to it. I mean,
To be fair, that thing made pretty sweet noises. I kind of want one.
at first,
I want to find out what it is.
I was astonished that he did that, and I didn't even realize that it was broken. And now that you say that, it's even stupider.
But we didn't even get to the favorite part yet.
all right, sorry.
Tom,
Well,
stop
I
making
felt
fun of
like
your
you had
favorite
to-
movie.
I felt like you had to start earlier, so.
No, I get it. We've teed up the scene. So now he's in there. He's trying to get this item, and the fire is taking him down. He coughs a lot. He hits the ground. Lewis comes up on the school. He notices a ruckus. He runs upstairs. As he runs upstairs, firemen are taking Donovan out of the burning room. He doesn't look that burned. I
He
mean,
doesn't look burnt at all. He's a little sooty.
he's a little sooty. He got a little soot.
A little crisp.
Yeah, he's got a little char, and pulls him out. The fireman lays him down on the ground, puts his ear to his mouth for 0.5 seconds, looks up, shakes his head like, no, he's not going to make it, and just leaves this dead body there next to his friends.
Didn't
No,
try
this
to like
hairstyle's not going to
oxygen
last
mask
past
him.
1995.
Didn't use an oxygen mask. Didn't like do any chest compressions. Made zero attempt to bring him back to life.
I don't even see how he died.
Worst fireman ever.
Smoke inhalation, I guess.
Yeah, but, like,
No one else died?
no one else died in the...
No one else
The
left.
door wasn't closed.
I know.
So that bothers me.
Yeah, and it bothers me that they
And
killed off
Kerrigan was
Donovan.
in there, and he didn't die.
No, they pulled Kerrigan out,
But
and
I
then
mean, he was
went
still in
back
there for a while, and it was like smoky.
Yeah, he was in there just as long, if not longer, than Donovan was.
But the fire wasn't fully engulfed at that point. I could see how
Oh, just-
Kerrigan would live and Donovan would not.
Just give it a rest, all
I
right,
just have-
Tom?
one more question, right?
All right.
And this is like, when you have a bad guy, why don't you write them to be utterly terrible, right? Because Primo,
The Primo. What did you do?
Pasta Primavera.
the Primo had Stacy Travis or whatever up against that van. He could have totally kidnapped her and done terrible things to her.
Oh yeah.
And he could have set Kerrigan on fire and just dismantled this guy who he has this war against. Could have dismantled his life, but he chose you got to make the bad guys bad, man.
Was he not unscrupulous enough?
He should have been more villainous.
Need some like Deadly Prey action where he just like straight up rapes this guy's daughter.
For someone that's willing to go ahead and light a school on fire and then pull back in other aspects is a little weird.
Yeah, I can buy that. I can buy that a little bit.
Seriously,
it could have been
questioning
worse.
his commitment.
I honestly, if he set Kerrigan on fire, that would have been my favorite part.
Wow. That would have been a little over the top. That would have been like the most brutal part of the movie.
Yeah.
And a lot
It
of
would
people
have
got
been
kicked in the
awesome,
face.
though.
I actually pre-wrote that down as a risk. I was like, he's going to light him on fire. Holy shit.
Yeah, that would have not been good for 8-year-old Tommy.
No.
That
I
would have
got
been a
the
little
impression at times that this movie was made for TV.
Really?
Yeah,
I did not get that impression.
sometimes.
It was like after school special style,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. I don't know. I don't think they could have gotten away with it.
Yeah. I mean, is this
Probably.
movie like Saturday afternoon UPN thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's exactly what it is.
So, I mean, that's not quite made for TV, but, you know, kind of just a
Snuck in.
little above it, just
Not
slightly.
a mainstream network that can kind of get away with it.
Yeah. All right. If we don't have any more favorite parts, let's move on to ratings. So let's rate it then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with.
Yeah,
fuck
I'm going to
you.
have to give it an unfortunate fuck off.
Oh my god, my fucking father.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Who wants to go? I can kick it off.
Why don't you go first?
Go for it.
Fuck yeah! I give this movie fuck yeah because it's got awesome fight scenes. It's got great characters. It's over the top. It's got Mark Dacakis. I really didn't have a failure. I've also watched this movie probably for the last 20 years of my life, so I'm a little biased, but fuck yeah from me. I would recommend it because it's good. It's good early 90s like action martial art. It's a good movie for that.
I'll buy it.
Anyone else have a rating? Have a rating?
I'll give it a fuck yes.
Okay.
I really liked it a lot, and I think maybe for the same reason that you listed, I don't have an attachment to this movie like you do, but I feel like this is something I would have really liked at the age of 8 or 9. This would have been right up my alley.
That's the same impression that I got. Like if I'd seen this at a younger age, I would have been like, "Oh, that movie's so cool."
Oh, dude, you don't know how bad I wanted to learn capoeira. But I was way too fat to do it. Way too fat.
I don't know, man. That doughy kid wasn't looking so hot.
He gave him a mean chop.
That's true.
though.
That's true. He did disarm that guy and look like an idiot.
Yeah, it's not the best thing I've ever seen, but I mean, it's pretty cool. It like you said, it's really it hits that early '90s martial arts movie vibe in maybe all the best ways possible. I really liked it.
Cool.
And it's got like that mid '80s PG vibe where it's kind of a little too adult to be a PG, but we're still rating it as a PG.
Yeah.
I feel like it's different from what you would call a PG-13. I don't know. It's like the PG-13 plus.
All right, Tyler, what do you got?
I'm gonna give it a fucking woo.
Fucking woo. All right.
Because there was a lot of things that like were bizarre about it, and I hated those things. But but I'm still feeling good about the movie, which is like weird to me. So I guess like overall it was entertaining, and that's what you want. And as a B movie, I felt it was a pretty strong B movie. Like it was
only the strong B movie.
only the strong.
I was going to go there, and I really reined it in.
You have more discipline than I do because you've watched this movie so many times.
I've learned discipline from all my capoeira.
And despite me saying how it's like feels like two different films, I don't think I would like it more if it was either one of those films all the way
That's a good point.
through. So I'd say, yeah, fucking woo.
All right. Fucking woo from Tyler. Brittany, what do you give it?
I will give this movie a fucking sure.
Fucking sure. Okay.
Fucking sure.
All right. Why?
It was entertaining. I only felt mildly bored at one point.
You only felt mildly strong?
Mildly strong.
I had to go for that one. Sorry.
Only mildly. And only briefly. But it was pretty just over the top fun. Actually, it wasn't even that over the top. I mean, it was. Everything that was over the top, like, didn't get taken far enough.
That's true. It kind of reeled its reins back in a little bit.
But it was still ridiculous enough to be entertaining. I don't know. I can't really articulate. It was fun. It wasn't as terrible as I remembered it being.
That's good.
It would definitely be an entertaining watch. You won't be bored.
That's great. So we've got mostly positive reviews,
Yeah.
right? Not even a fuck
Not
up.
quite a fucking sweep.
Yeah, not quite, but positive all around the board. So
Yeah, I'd watch it again.
take that home with you.
Yeah, sure.
Any more final thoughts before we wrap it up?
The one last thing is I didn't understand if these kids had never gone camping, right? Because they asked a very racist question to me, and despite the vast amount of minorities that were in this group, they asked if we were Indians, right? Like Native Americans.
Yeah.
And I was like, have these kids never gone camping ever? Like, do they only think of Native Americans when they think of people going in tents?
I mean, it's
Well, it was a white kid who posed the question. Though,
And
so.
Was it? I thought it was Orlando.
It was
No,
it was,
it was the-
Eddie Horseface Killer, as I wrote down, because I fucking hated that guy.
It was Horseface. It was $20 bill Horseface, right?
It looked like somebody beat Matt Damon into Ben Affleck with a bat.
Horseface Killer. But yeah, that guy sucked.
Yeah.
He said so much stuff that I was not on board with. Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, I
He
guess
was in my negative column.
they're inner city urban kids. I mean, maybe they haven't gone camping, and it's
Everybody-
Miami.
But everybody goes camping, though.
They have
Like,
woods in Miami.
Yeah, I'm
They
sure
obviously
they
do. He didn't drive that far.
No, they had to take the Barber line to get down there.
That's more like
All the way
it's
down
like a
the Bible
beach.
line.
Yeah, the Barber line is a bus line that you get your hair cut on for the duration of the trip.
P.S.
Moving
it doesn't
on.
exist.
P.S. It does exist. Moving
Because
on.
every time someone gets off a bus in this movie, their hair is
They
different.
have a new haircut.
Oh, final thought. I loved the hair continuity for Orlando at the beginning of the movie.
What hair continuity?
There was none. And that's what I loved about it. At the beginning of the movie, he had a really long mullet, like down to the middle of his back. And it was layered, and the top layer was really curly. It was like half Jerry curls, half mullet. Cut to like halfway through the movie, he has like a really short, stubby ponytail that barely grazes his shoulders, but it's still a mullet. Fast forward to the final fight, where his hair is the Jerry curl mullet all the way down to the bottom of his back again.
They probably shot all the exterior stuff at one point, and then all the other stuff.
I was like, his hair is magical.
The hair in this movie as a whole was magical.
that is true. Everyone had a great
The hair and the
haircut.
wardrobe, I was so in love with.
Pleased with.
Yeah, 90s movies, usually I hate the hair and I hate the wardrobe. And somehow I just loved it in this, even though it was still as ridiculous as every other 90s movie.
Yeah.
Everyone was wearing like baggy MC Hammer pants or like overalls with no shirts underneath.
I don't like that part.
Lots of vests with no shirt underneath.
Ooh, yeah, that too.
Lots of that going on. Lots of
Sure.
stripes and squiggly shapes.
That should be our new look.
Vests with no shirt.
Vest with no shirt.
I'm down.
Just walk around with vests.
Think we can wear that to work?
I think we can get
Think we
away.
can get away with that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
that's
think I
If
can.
you can see your armpit hair, it's probably not appropriate for work.
What if I shave?
No.
Oh, that makes it worse. Also, real quick, before we even started the movie, we did watch the trailer. So we set expectations. It was a great trailer. A little long,
Yeah, it was a little long.
but I mean, it went through the entire movie, you know, the whole thing.
And it didn't give anything really away.
No, they
It was
didn't.
very 90s.
Yeah, and it was a really good trailer. And
Spoiled the drop your pants line.
it did. Which
did. And then we saw a bunch of people that I don't recall seeing in the movie, too.
Like who?
There was this one guy that had like a really oddly shaped body. Like,
It was the chop guy from the final fight.
Oh, that fucking doofus.
no, there was. Oh my god!
We just started dying.
That guy was an idiot.
He held his chop pose for so long. Fucking doofus. Oh my god.
No, there was this one dude that looked like he looked absolutely shredded in the trailer, right? But he was way too skinny to be that shredded kind of thing. And then in the movie, like he was non-existent, and I thought in the trailer. I thought he was part of the group, but then he didn't. I never saw him.
He was nowhere.
Nowhere.
I hate when trailers do
He's
that.
a ghost.
I hate it.
Like, they put scenes in that aren't going to make the movie all the time. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, that is frustrating. If that's it, that's it. You've been listening to Second Class Cinema. We watched Only the Strong, 1993 Capoeira movie that we gave relatively positive reviews. If you'd like more information, come to our Facebook page, facebook.com/secondclasscinema. We're on Twitter.
They know where to find us.
But I have to say it.
Right.
We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on Podbean. And we're on tons of other podcasts. That's a lie. We're on tons of other podcast sites. So
I was going to say, I found you on Stitcher, so.
We're on Stitcher. We are on Lisbon.
TuneIn?
We're on TuneIn. We're on Blubbery. We're on a bunch of shit
What?
for a bunch of...
Oh, and the week of Tommy's birthday.
Oh, yeah. So...
May 4th.
Yeah, the week of my birthday. My birthday's May 5th. On May 4th, we will be Podbean's Podcast of the Week, which is very cool. We're looking forward to that. So thank you, Podbean, for that one.
Nice.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to me. And thank you, Tyler, for coming.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good to have you,
For
man.
being
It
a
was
guest.
very fun.
I'd love to come back again.
Yeah, this was a good time.
So that means you must invite me again.
Yes,
Glad
absolutely.
we watched a fairly tolerable movie for your first
It
day.
wasn't painful like some of the
No.
stuff.
Oh my
No,
god.
no.
Some of the stuff we watch is so bad.
It's bad.
Wolf Cop.
But yes, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming by. So, that's it. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, and I love you.
I love you too. Oh, you talking to them?
We went over all of this material yesterday.
Yo, Carrie, I got your natural selection, my man. How about I naturally select to walk out of this boring-ass class?